think the Cleveland Cavaliers are very close to being contenders in the NBA. I don't know if it's just me or I'm just maybe a little higher on the Cleveland Cavaliers than most people, but I definitely think they are maybe a season away from figuring out what they truly need and then moving forward as contenders in the NBA. I think there are a lot of make or break players on this Cleveland Cavaliers roster for this season coming up. I also love their pickup in Kenny Atkinson, and this is the one player I think should break out this season for them to be true contenders. And the first thing I want to talk about is I think Kenny Atkinson is the perfect head coach for this Cleveland Cavaliers team. And the reason I believe that, we're going to take a trip down memory lane and we're going to go back to one of the more fun teams that a lot of people don't talk about, and that's the 2019 Brooklyn Nets. Now, back then, they had D'Angelo Russell, DeMarre Carroll, they had Jared Allen, they had a whole lot of players that complemented each other well, and they had Kenny Atkinson at the helm. And when we look at a guy like D'Angelo Russell today, we look at D'Angelo Russell as one of the better pick and roll creators in the NBA with his mid-range scoring, the way he creates floaters for himself, the way he creates for his rollers in the pick and roll action, the way he's able to pull up in the mid-range, the way he's able to hit the outside three in the long ball. I definitely think D'Angelo Russell has made a name for himself off the pick and roll due to the Kenny Atkinson offense. In that offense, they had some actions that they ran heavily, which was Fist Indiana and Fist Kansas. This was just basically an offense that had their 5-man screen or set a slip screen for the lead guard, which was D'Angelo Russell, and then had their wings or maybe their power forward and their small forward set downward screens and lead to maybe an open corner shot, open top of the key shot. And I think the Cleveland Cavaliers offense fits into that perfectly. Okay, so we're going to freeze frame right here. Obviously, you can tell that the Orlando Magic are running a man coverage. And what we're going to see is DeMarre Carroll is going to set a pin down for Jared Allen so he can set a slip screen for D'Angelo Russell. So almost immediately after Jared Allen sets the slip screen, he's going to set a pin down for the shooter coming to the top of the key. I am not aware of his name. As I'm thinking about it, I think that's Joe Harris, actually. Now that D'Angelo Russell has 2 on the ball, it's going to make it very easy for Jared Allen to get downhill and get the easy basket. So in that season, D'Angelo Russell was top 5 in pick and roll frequency, and he was 1 out of 3 players who had 10 or more possessions in the pick and roll per game, with the other 2 guys being Kemba Walker and Lou Williams. D'Angelo Russell had a scoring frequency of 40% in the pick and roll and was also a 43% shooter from the pick and roll. And what makes this so intriguing to me is Donovan Mitchell is a player that I think can thrive in the pick and roll. And then we have guys like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley who are so good in the pick and roll and who are such good screeners. I think you can use those guys either way, whether it's Evan Mobley, who's the one that's setting the slip screen and then setting the pin down for the shooter, which I would believe would be Max Strus. I think Evan Mobley is a solid connector passer to where you can maybe run that slip screen. Maybe Evan Mobley can set a pin down for Max Strus. You give it to Evan Mobley on the roll, and then Jared Allen's in the dunker spot to kind of set up that connective pass that Evan Mobley is so good at. And I just think going from D'Angelo Russell in this type of scheme to Donovan Mitchell is a major upgrade. And if we look at this season, Donovan Mitchell only had a pick and roll frequency of 38%. He gave you 9 points per game on pick and rolls on 43% shooting. And I think that definitely has the potential to go up this season, especially with the scheme that Kenny Atkinson is going to put into this Cleveland Cavaliers offense. And I think it's going to be very hard to guard because whether it's Donovan Mitchell, who's the lead ball handler in those actions, or Darius Garland, who's the lead ball handler in those actions, who's just amazing in the mid-range game. He's a great decision maker. He's a great facilitator. I think either way you run it with Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell, I think that could be a positive scheme against some of these teams that run heavy man. And this is where I would start to think that Darius Garland is going to have a make or break season this season. I mean, when Garland was out, the Cleveland Cavaliers managed to go 12-3. Donovan Mitchell was giving you 28 points on 8 assists. He was top 11 in assists, and he was also giving you about 47% from the field and 35% from 3 on 9 attempts. And this is what leads me to think, why can't Donovan Mitchell be the lead guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers? I know some Cleveland Cavaliers fans may not be ready to move off of Darius Garland, but part of me just thinks that with maybe a more lengthy two guard that can hit the outside shot, can defend around the perimeter, would be better next to Donovan Mitchell. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Donovan Mitchell is a bad defender. I definitely think he can be the weakest perimeter defensive asset on a championship level team and still be a plus defender in that role. He may be the worst perimeter defender on a championship team, but that does not mean he is a bad defender. I definitely think he has very active hands, and I definitely think he can be a good team defender on a championship level team. For example, guys like Mikal Bridges, Jeremy Grant, Dorian Finney-Smith. These guys make sense for this Cleveland Cavaliers roster if Donovan Mitchell would be the lead guard. But in my opinion, I think none of this conversation is worthy of having unless Evan Mobley is ready to take that offensive jump. And in particular, his offense outside of the restricted area. Evan Mobley this season shot 44% in the non-restricted area, 25% in the mid-range, and 30% on left corner threes, and only took 10 attempts all year. And it's so important to me that Evan Mobley gets his offensive game up just a little bit. I wouldn't even say just a little bit, but he just takes a step offensively, because I don't see a world where they move off Jared Allen. I truly do not see a world where they move off Jared Allen anytime soon, due to the fact that he just got an extension and he has history with Kenny Atkinson. And with Evan Mobley just struggling the way he does outside of the restricted area, it makes it hard for me to believe that this front court could work long term, especially when I look at him as a center and I see how he can play in the restricted area, how he can catch lobs, how he could be a connective passer or a connected passer. And the defense is just completely unlocked when you have Evan Mobley at the 5, because whether he has an inefficient or just a below average defender in the front court or in the back court, he can make up for those inefficiencies. He can be a great switch defender. He's a 95th percentile pick and roll defender. He's such a great rim protector. There are just things that I like with Evan Mobley that he wouldn't have to take this big offensive step, or we wouldn't have to pray for this big offensive step if he was playing the center position. And I think with Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley having the potential to be the best defender in the league, in my opinion, and Donovan Mitchell being someone who has performed in the playoffs, has the offensive numbers to be a lead player on a team that can make a deep playoff run in the NBA. As a general manager, we would have to ask these questions like, look, we're going to go into the season. We're going to see if Evan Mobley can take that jump. We're going to see if we need to keep Jared Allen long term. We're going to see if Darius Garland is going to be our point guard long term. But if not, man, I think this Cleveland Cavaliers team is this close from being a contender. I really do. I think you have the assets to go get the guys that you can properly fit around, Donovan Mitchell being your 1 and Evan Mobley being your 5, and then you can fit those 2 to 4 positions with some lengthy 3-and-D players. I think this team can go band for band with the Knicks, the 76ers, the Bucks. They can throw fits at the Boston Celtics. They obviously could not defend Donovan Mitchell in those 2 games that he played against them last season. I just think the Cleveland Cavaliers are closer than a lot of people think. I really do. I'm really high on the Cleveland Cavaliers. But once again, this is something that could be way out of the realm just because they re-signed Jared Allen, just because Darius Garland is kind of that homegrown draft pick that you're going to want to develop. I don't know if this is maybe too far-fetched, but in my opinion, the Cleveland Cavaliers are right there. They're right there. And ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I have a lot of things coming up for At the Buzzer Sports. We are starting to grow as a YouTube channel very quickly, and I appreciate everybody who's liking, commenting, subscribing. My goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers before the NBA season starts. We're also going to be doing live post-game reviews, maybe after every game, maybe every day at night after the games finish. We're going to do some live post-game reviews. Also am trying to get more guests on the channel. We just saw Mars Talk Sports just the other day on the channel. I think that was a very good video. So once again, if you guys like this type of content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm out. Peace.